If you ever thought about buying a home, a co-op or condo, or even renting an apartment, today my guest will let you know what are the ups and downs of the real estate market. Let's give a nice warm welcome to Millie Huerta. Millie, welcome aboard. Tell me, what are the ups and downs of renting an apartment?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you very much for having me here. It's quite a market out there lately. The ups of renting versus owning is, well, you have to ask yourself where you plan to be in 7 years, because that's usually a deciding factor of where you want to be moving to. You could want to stay someplace for a long time, and then you could want to stay someplace for no more than 7 years, and in that case you would want to then look for low interest rates, mortgage that will amortize quickly. And also the next best thing about owning versus renting is mortgage interest.
Oh, you get to write it off. Let's take apartment rentals. What is like the average price for a one-bedroom apartment?
Well, it varies from city to city. In Queens, normally you can get a one-bedroom for about $800, $900.
Is it in a good area, bad area? Does it depend on there?
I would say probably Rego Park, Flushing, that area. In Nassau County, you can get a one-bedroom, depending on the towns also. Hicksville, maybe $900,000. Long Beach, maybe $1,000, $1,200. Two bedrooms are obviously more expensive, but they run in the areas of anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000. That could be a mortgage payment to some people.
Let's say I'm going to go rent an apartment, let's say in Rego Park. I go see the apartment and decide I want the apartment. Some landlords basically require a 1-month security and a 1-month rent. Is that standard?
That is standard.
There is, and I've heard about it, there are some landlords that require first and last month's rent and a month's security. Is that legal or is that not legal?
That could be, yeah, it is legal. They can do it if it's their option. They own the place. And they usually, what most people, well, what some tenants I've heard do in the past is they live out their security. So with the first and the last month, they can't live out their security because they have to wait around and get their money back.
When it comes to renting, go to an agent. If I decide to go to a real estate agent on my own, the landlord decides that they want to run a credit check on me. Why would they want to run a credit check on me?
Well, some people say I have perfect credit, and then I can pay the $1,500 a month rent, no problem. And then when you run the credit check, all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, well I was late, or they have me in default for that credit card, but you have to explain yourself because the landlord wants to be sure that he's going to be protected.
I go through, get the credit check. The
Right.
landlord likes me.
Right.
We go to sign a lease. Is a lease mandatory in renting an apartment?
Most landlords nowadays do require leases, and a lease is mandatory, especially if it's a legal apartment.
What do you mean by a legal apartment?
Well, there's some places that rent illegal apartments.
So anything like a basement apartment is not considered legal in New York?
Correct.
Let's say this lease, something happens. I go, can't pay my rent. The landlord wants me evicted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Would that lease hold up in court? What is the process of getting a tenant out?
There's a long, extended process for getting a tenant out. Sometimes it could take as much as 90 days to get someone evicted.
And during this time, the landlord is basically
losing money
rent.
while the tenant is living there rent-free, maybe even ruining the apartment. So in some respects, the landlord has, the option to claim 2 months security because he wants to make sure that he's being protected.
Let's say this landlord decides to turn off my electricity, turn off my water, turn off my heat. Can he actually do that?
Then he's got a big problem now. He can't do that.
He can't. What happens if he does? Is there something that the tenant
Yes,
basically can do?
Absolutely. They can definitely go to court. The judge would uphold probably make an order for the landlord to have to turn it back on no matter what. He has to. He can't do that. That's illegal. And he could be penalized and fined very heavily.
So basically, it's like it's more towards the tenant's privilege. The court leans more towards the tenant than the landlord.
No, there's extenuating circumstances, really. It's not that the court leans to one side more than the other. The judge usually is very fair and hears both sides. And there's some cases where the landlord just wants the tenant out because he wants him out with no valid reasons, and the tenant has a lease. In that case, you have to wait for the lease to be done before the landlord can just decide to say, okay.
Let's say I have a lease with a landlord and I have 4 months left, but I decided I want to move, whether it's to buy a home or move to another place. Can the landlord hold me liable to that lease when it is not a legal apartment?
That would be very, very difficult to prove in a court of law, that the tenant was actually living there, especially if there weren't any receipts or anything. The tenant could just walk away, and what is the landlord going to do? It's an illegal apartment. So basically, you can't have a lease because it's an illegal apartment. He wouldn't. I don't think any landlord in their right mind would ever do that.
Would I benefit more going to a real estate agent rather than finding an apartment on my own?
Yes.
In what way?
We have a lot more listings. We can show you a lot more that's out there. We can present you with a lot more options as far as what you can afford to pay, and basically it's more better for the person to have a representation.
Okay. Let's say I'm going to think about buying a co-op or a condo. Tell me the difference between owning a co-op and owning a condo.
Well, a co-op, you basically own shares. Cooperation owns the real estate, and you own shares in that real estate, and they give you the right to a unit, and you can live in there in that unit, but you don't own the actual apartment. Whereas in a condo,
Right.
you own the actual real estate. You can do a lot more. You have a lot more freedom. But there's not one is not better than the other. It's just different. The co-op owns the real estate itself, and then the condominium, you own it outright.
When you say the co-op, it's only shares you own.
Shares you own,
Shares
correct.
I have friends basically who have co-ops. They tell me that if they want to hang a picture, do paint, do changes within those 4 walls that they basically live on a unit, what you could refer to as a unit, they have to go in front of a board. Why is that?
Because the board wants to make sure that the property is well maintained, and sometimes you can't even put nails up on the walls. Yes, I have heard.
You have to actually ask?
I have heard those stories, yes. You have to ask. But you know, they're not as strict, you know, like that anymore. They're more well, you're going to cut down a wall. What's the apartment going to look like? Is the resale value going to be improved? Is it not going to be improved? That's what they're looking for. They want to make sure that the resale value is going to be maintained.
The process into getting a co-op, you have to go in front of a board, be approved. What do they look for?
They look for whether you're, what type of person you are, what you do for a living. You're going to have a rock band playing there every night. Or you know, they pretty much want you to just conform to the rest of the, so that everyone else in the building will have peace and quiet as well as you having peace and quiet.
When you mean peace and quiet, does that mean that I can't have parties?
Oh no, you can have parties, and you know the benefits about a condo or a co-op is most of them come with party rooms. So you wanted to rent out the party room. Sometimes it's $30, $40, $50. You can rent out the room for the whole night, blast your stereo, and you know they'll know that it's a party. And it's not that it's going to happen every night. What they're looking for is for upstanding citizens who are not going to be partying every night and you know making other tenants and people uncomfortable.
In a co-op, they have something that's called a community or a common area. What is that?
The common area is also in a condominium unit where they have the pool, the gym, the saunas, the laundry rooms, and everyone shares that common area.
The thing I don't understand, when in the co-op and the condo, those common area also comes with laundry facilities. Can you actually have a washer and dryer in a co-op or in a condo, or is that?
Well, in a co-op you cannot, and it goes according to the prospectus and what each individual cooperation rules are. And some will say yes, some will say no. That really does vary from co-op to co-op. In a condominium unit, you own your own unit, so
and you can basically have a washing machine and
have
dryer.
a washing machine in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you also have to be approved in front of a board when it comes to a condo?
No, there is no board.
What's the difference then?
Between
The condo and
Condo
the, I mean,
and the
condo is
co-op.
then it's basically like buying a home. Basically, you
Yes.
go in there, you own the property and the real estate.
And a condominium also, you don't have to, sometimes lawn mowers, the
Oh, okay.
shoveling, it's all taken care of. Maintenance is, that it's all included in the maintenance in a condominium and as well as a co-op.
Okay, explain what is the maintenance.
The maintenance is what is, well, in a co-op, the maintenance fees goes towards the mortgage. Some of it goes towards the mortgage, some of it goes towards fixing up the outsides.
Who determines these maintenance fees?
Well, everyone gets to decide. So in the co-op, you also get to decide as an owner. But one of the things that you have to ask is how I get to decide whether is it with each apartment is bigger, the biggest apartment gets the biggest vote, or is it that you get to decide based upon just you being an individual?
Let's move on to houses. I heard the real estate market has been jumping in the 90s, personally. As you know, being a real estate person, you're the one who helped me find my home, and I thank you for it. I now own a lovely home in Hicksville. That there'll be an upcoming show on that. Explain to the viewers what are the benefits of owning your own home.
Well, the benefits, the first benefit that I love is the mortgage interest.
Oh yeah, that I love. Very
Right?
tax deductible, yes.
Mortgage interest
yes.
deductible every year. That's the first benefit. The next benefit is you can do whatever you want, and as you're going to be doing, you're totally renovating your house.
I mean, it's a project in its own.
Right, and you have the freedom to come and go, put walls up, take walls down, expand, don't expand. The property itself will increase in years to come.
When it comes to searching for a home, let's say when I went with you to look for a home and you showed me the home that I am now, and you gave me a CMA. Explain what is a CMA?
Oh, well, comparable market analysis is basically what other pieces of real estate are going for.
Within the same area?
Within the same area. What's sold, what has not sold. It gives you a better look at what's out there as far as real estate goes. You're able to see, well, this house sold for that amount of money, that house sold for less, but why is that? There's a difference. One may have had a basement, one didn't. That's what a comparable market analysis does. It makes you more informed and better to make a decision.
A house basically, like the one that I bought, does it increase in value? Is it appraised for more, or let's say comparative market analysis, if it has a fireplace, an in-ground swimming pool versus an above-ground swimming pool?
Well, swimming pools do not really add to the value. That's a personal choice.
What do you mean?
It doesn't, it's not something that's going to make the property go up or increase. Just I believe that the value of the house itself is what's going to increase in time. Whether it has a pool, it's an extra added facility. It's an extra added luxury.
Let's say fireplaces.
Mm-hmm.
I want to create another fireplace. Is there like building permits and things you have to basically file?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
Because the building department wants to make sure that you're building the house to code, and that it's going to be safe for you to live in as well as for the neighbors around you to live in. You just can't say I want to erect a fireplace and just do it. You would basically have to definitely get a building permit. Have it done professionally also.
Oh yeah. I know, I'm going through it right now. Let's say I'm going to go buy a home, basically you show me a home, and I want to make an offer on this. Let's say the home is listed for $200,000. How is that price determined? Is it determined by the owner with the use of a CMA or an appraised value of the home?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I make an offer to the owner through you?
Well, if you like the home, you're willing to pay the $200,000, we would come into the office and we would fill out an offer and present it to the homeowner. The homeowner then decides, based upon, most homeowners have a feeling of what they feel the value of their home is, based upon what they paid for it, based upon the improvements that were made, based upon a lot of other factors that, with the CMA as well, what other houses are going for. So you would then, the homeowner would then take your offer, look at it and evaluate it, and if he's willing to sell it to you, then we go.
The owner basically listed it for the house, let's say a house for $200,000,
Right.
and I feel in my book, because I've done homework, I wanted to submit $175,000. What are the chances of that price being accepted or declined?
That's very, very low.
Why is that?
I would say it's probably not a good chance that you're going to get it, because in today's market, real estate in 1 year has gone up 15% alone, just in 1 year. And it is a seller's market. So if you're going to offer $175,000, there's going to be somebody else that's going to come along and say, wow, I really love this house.
And they'll make
I'm
a
going to
higher
offer $195,000. They'll probably take the $195,000 over the $175,000. And you'll lose out because you really like the house, but yet you're offering it for $175,000. It is a seller's market out there.
There is a slack. Isn't there like a slack? Let's say I submitted $175,000 and this house basically has had offers around that range. Let's say, but mine was the highest, $175,000, and the owner does turn it down. Is there a slack that he's looking for, that he ups the price up slightly so he'll know he'll be walking away with what he wants to walk away with?
Most owners do know what they want to walk away with within their own amount. They have already preset a dollar amount that they want to walk away with, but that's neither here nor there. That's their option, whether they want to accept your $175,000. But like I said, in today's market, real estate alone has gone up 15%. So they'll come. Someone else will come along and just be like, well, I want to offer you $195,000, and the homeowner will then say, okay, I'll take the $195,000 over the $175,000.
Let's say the owner accepted $195,000.
Right.
That's the offer. From that point, from the offer, where do we go?
Once we get that offer signed and everybody's ready to go, well, there's the mortgage, and then there's the appraisal. Then there's, well, first there's contracts, right?
Oh, the contract, okay.
Right.
You sign contract. You get the attorneys and you sign contract. What does that contract signify?
It signifies that you're really interested and you put down your money. But with most contracts, you have to put down at least 10%. Sometimes there is financing for 3%, but that's very far and few in between.
Why is that?
Because most people don't know about it. There's lots of restrictions to it. If you want to buy a co-op and put 3% down, I don't believe that they would be able to let you do it. We'd have to go to our trained mortgage specialists and get the final answer from them.
Ah, okay. We go into contract. You got the appraisal on the house. Basically, the buyer pays for the appraisal, correct?
Correct.
The owner, what does the owner pay?
Well, the owner has to pay the new Giuliani state tax.
Which is that 1%?
1%, right, of
the
the
transfer tax?
It's a transfer tax, right.
Okay, besides that, I know the owner basically pays a real
Their
estate
own lawyer's fee.
their own lawyer's fees.
Our commission.
The commission of the real estate agent. What is the going commission rate for the real estate agent?
Usually we list houses at 6%, and anything less would be a crime. Because there is a lot of work involved, and I'd also like to set the record straight that, you know, real estate agents get a bad rap because they think that we don't work for our money, but we do. We're just like everyone else. We have a living. We try to make a living. We're just the average Joe Schmo making a living, and we're very humble people.
Believe me, when you started showing me things, until I didn't see the house in Hicksville that you showed me, I wasn't satisfied, and I do appreciate you taking your time.
But you fell in love with it.
Oh, I fell in love with it.
And you knew that this was the house.
Oh, yeah, I knew this was the house. I knew it was the house. Let's talk about exclusive agency and right to sell. Tell the viewers what are the differences.
Well, you as a homeowner would then now, if you want, after you're done with your renovations and you decide you want to sell it, the exclusive right to sell would give the broker the right to sell the house. But in case you wanted to sell the house on your own, you still have that right. And
this
you
is
would
the
not,
right to sell or the exclusive agent?
Right.
Okay.
You would not have to sell. You would not have to pay the commission.
So we don't owe. If I sell my house, I owe you nothing.
Correct.
So all the advertisements and everything you did, the open houses, you guys absorb that loss.
Correct.
Okay. And the right to sell?
With the
or
agency.
right to agency.
Right to sell is you give us the full commissions. We sell it. Whether you sell it or I sell it or another broker sells it, you pay the total commission on it.
Once we sign that listing,
Mm-hmm.
at that point, let's say we determine your commission will be 6%.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I sold my house listed for $200,000 and I wanted to walk away with, no, make it 205. I want to walk away with 190. But your commission is about 12 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Is your commission still negotiable at that point?
Not once you sign, no.
No. So
Well,
basically, the negotiation of the real estate commission comes prior to listing.
Correct. Right right at the point where you sign that little dotted line that says, "Yeah, I'll give it to you for 6%." You're held to that.
Okay.
You're binded.
And what happens if I don't?
Well, then there's lawsuits and
Oh, we
all
don't
kinds of ugly things that we don't want to talk about because the real estate people are really friendly.
Let's say we had everything going, contract, mortgages, the seller itself.
Right.
The options of mortgages, what do they have?
Well, they have a FHA. They have a conventional. There's Fannie Mae's. There is, depending on whether you want to reconstruct the house or not, there's 203K loans. But all of those come with restrictions and variables that a trained mortgage specialist would have to help you decipher.
In qualifying for a mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
I know they do a credit check.
Mm-hmm.
What do they look for?
Well, most people nowadays are worried about their credit. And the best thing for you to do is when you're going to be applying for a mortgage is get your own credit report. Look it over. Make sure that it looks presentable. And if you see that, oh, in 1994, I was late, and they reported me late 7 times, but there's extenuating circumstances to that. You were ill, or you were going through a divorce, or you lost your job. You as a consumer can write up a statement and send it in to the credit reporting agencies. And then with that, they will be able to attach yours statement to the report, and then therefore you will be protected. Well, not protected, but at least you'll say, well, you know what? I did make a mistake in 1994. I was late 7 times, but this is the reason. And since then, if in 1 year you've paid all of your bills, you're all up to date, you should have no problem.
When I look at my credit report, or the mortgage financial officer, whatever you call them,
Mm-hmm.
the mortgage officer tells me my FICO score is 694. What actually is a FICO score?
That is for your debt ratio. And each mortgage lender wants to see that your debt ratio has X amount of percentage scored, and they want you to be within a certain percentage. I believe it's between 24 and 30, and you have to score within that amount. And they want to know that you're going to be able to pay your mortgage and have an adequate cash flow.
Okay, I got proof of my mortgage, ready to go into contract. Engineer's report.
Mm-hmm.
Explain to me what an engineer's report is.
Oh, an engineer's report is the trained specialist that comes in and tells you all the little hidden defects that you don't know about that could be a hindrance to you as the buyer. The seller may not even know that there's a leak coming in from the roof because it only leaks inside when it rains sideways, and that could be a hindrance.
And
So the engineer would be able to pick things up like that.
When I receive this engineer's report, it can also hold back the closing date pending these certain repairs to be done and paid for by the owner.
Correct.
Unless I accept that as an as-is condition.
Right.
Or the owner comes back and says, I'll take $5,000, $10,000 off
Correct.
of the price. And
Correct. The
no
engineer
contract
really
against
does do an adequate report, though. If there's a crawl space, they crawl underneath the house, they look at the electrical, they look at the plumbing, the ductwork, the air conditioning units. It's well worth it to have it done.
Closing. Closing day comes. Everything's fine. What happens at closing?
Well, a lot of lawyers get together and papers are signed.
Oh, yes. About hundreds
Lots
and
of
hundreds
papers,
and hundreds
right?
of
As
papers.
you know
yes.
already.
Checks gets written.
Checks
oh,
get
yes.
written, commission checks get written, state transfer tax checks, all sorts of fees are paid. And you should always have your financial lending institution will give you an estimate of what closing costs will be. Sometimes they could run anywhere between $6,000 to $8,000, and you should be fully aware of that.
Well, closing is done and everything. Tell me, why should I go list my home with a realtor instead of selling it myself? What are the benefits of letting you sell my home versus me selling it on my own?
For sale by owner, more commonly known as a FSBO. Well, as a for sale by owner, you can do the advertising, you can do the marketing that you need to do, but you'll get somebody who'll come in and say, well, yeah, I'm saving money because I see it for sale by owner. So what I've seen in the past is that buyer then takes an extra, whatever, 5% off, because he's taking off the amount that you would have paid anyway to a real estate. So you're still losing money, even though you've gone through the advertising, the marketing, and now you're going to accept less money. And with us as selling your piece of real estate, we can put you on a multiple listing service and give you exposure to thousands and thousands of agents who are hungry to sell your place.
So basically your property gets more exposure.
More
and
exposure.
actually more people working and selling your home.
Right.
And basically for that one flat fee commission of 6%.
Right, 6%, right. Well, the homeowner would think that I'm saving 6%, but the buyer who comes through your door says, well, I'm going to knock off 6% because they're going to accept it anyway. And you don't want to sell yourself short. You want to be able to negotiate, and the real estate agent can negotiate for you.
When is the best time actually to buy property in the year?
Well, springtime is the best time, and it is spring, and it is flourishing now. So we are having an influx of people calling saying, it's time, I want to buy, and it's very, very busy now for us all.
So basically in the winter time, it's basically a slower season.
It's pretty much a slow season, not much going on. There's some rentals that come about. Some people that still do want to buy and sell during the winter time.
And it's also profitable
But
then?
springtime is the time because the flowers bloom and people wake up and say, oh, it's springtime, let me go out and enjoy the outside, and they want to buy a house or a condo or a co-op.
Because I know I basically bought my house in August.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, no, we went, saw it at an open house, beginning of August.
Right.
And actually went to closing 2 months later. And I want to thank you.
Oh, you're very
welcome. Thank you for
welcome.
joining us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
If anyone here wants merely to answer any questions that they might have regarding co-ops, condos, houses, you can basically email her at mhuerta@mlslirealtor.com. It'll show on the screen. You can call her personally on her own line, 516-816-4485, correct?
Correct.
If you want to use her services, she sells, buys Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau, listings, Suffolk County. Okay, if you have any ideas for any future shows, please give us a call or write to us. Thank you.